Hello everyone, my name is Steven and welcome to Storytime. Today we're going to be reading some malicious compliance stories, tales where following the rules can lead to some just desserts. And let me just say, if you're not already subscribed to Storytime, please consider doing so. But with that being said, let's sit back, relax, and listen to some captivating Reddit stories. The school nurse is too busy to see sick kids? Don't worry, I can handle it. No children were harmed in this malicious compliance. I am a substitute teacher. Today, I was covering a first grade class. I had not been to this particular school before, but I have covered first grade previously. When I gathered the class in the morning, I realized that every single child was coughing, sneezing, and had a runny nose. 3 kids were visibly sicker than the rest. One just looked very ill. Another felt like she had a fever, my assessment. The third was coughing so hard he was gagging. Let's call the cougher Joe. I sent all 3 to the nurse at different times within the first 60 minutes of the day. With the last student, I included a note explaining that the entire class was ill and the 3 I sent were the sickest. I essentially apologized for having a sick class and having students that needed to be evaluated. Of the 3, 1 was sent home with a fever. The other 2, one being Joe, were sent back to class. About an hour after the last student returned, one of the administrators comes to my class. She asks why I'm sending so many students to the nurse. She chastises me for letting the students take advantage of me. I try to explain the situation for each student, but she cuts me off and tells me that the nurse is too busy today and there's nothing the nurse can do for them anyway. I am told I can't send any more students to the nurse. Fine. Now the malicious compliance. Lunchtime. I'm picking up the class from the cafeteria when I realize Joe is crying. He tells me that he started coughing again and he vomited a little on his pants. He feels fine now, but he's upset because the other kids are making fun of him. I chastise the class for making fun of him and promise to help Joe clean up once we get to the classroom. In the middle of this interaction, the same administrator from before sees what is happening and comes over to investigate.
What's going on here? Why is Joe crying?
I explain what happened. I start to lead the students back to class.
Are you gonna send Joe to the nurse?
Not right now, he's feeling better. I know the nurse is busy, I can handle this. The admin looks visibly distressed but does not say anything else. Once we got back to class, I get Joe cleaned up. He admitted that another kid gave him flaming hot Cheetos and those made him cough. He's happy now and participating in class without any issues. About 15 minutes after returning to the room, there's a knock on the door. It's the nurse. She pulls Joe out to speak to him. I don't know what was said, but Joe returned soon after. The nurse did not say one word to me. Oh well, I guess she wasn't too busy after all. It sounds like to me that this school had pretty inadequate nursing and medical and everything. And it sounded kind of incompetent too. How are you going to have a student that is gagging from coughing so bad and then say no, don't send them to the nurse? That's terrible. Up to 4 days means up to 4 days. I work in a small shop that fixes computers for people. This woman came in on a Tuesday and asked for us to fix her laptop. Sure, no problem. Took a brief look at it to assess what is a likely fault, probably a case of replacing the hard drive and reinstalling Windows. So I quoted her up to 4 working days to be completed as we usually work on things in the order they come in. She agrees to this and did not pay for the fast service we offer, which would probably have been next day in this case. Anyway, come Thursday she comes in expecting her laptop to be fixed. I tell her I'll check if it's done yet. Having a look, I find it still on the shelf but it's next in the queue to be looked at, so I tell her this. At this point, she goes freaking ballistic saying she needs it fixed to do her self-employed job and that she cannot do work without it. I tell her if she wanted it done urgently, she should have brought it in on a fast service, but I can upgrade it right now and get it done either by the end of the day or tomorrow morning. She storms off, saying she isn't paying anything extra. Alright, not paying any extra, I suppose that means she wants the standard speed then. I started working on it later that day but then left it in a corner because I wanted it to be dry to take it outside and clean out the CPU fan. It was filthy. I timed it so that we notified her it was complete at about 30 minutes before closing on the 4th working day, Monday, complying with what was agreed. Despite the laptop was basically completed around Friday lunchtime. She couldn't get in before we closed. What a shame. And then picked it up on Tuesday, a full week after she brought it in. I met my end of the agreement to the letter. Customers who don't complain and shout at me usually get it done faster than agreed. Had one recently where I'm supposed to quote him about 3 days, but as he was nice and we had a friendly chat for a while, I told him come back in 30 minutes as it was a model I was very familiar with and knew I could do it there and then. I think this just goes to show you that if you upset somebody that's working on something that you own, it might take a little bit longer than expected for some unknown reason. If you're just a good person to workers, you'll probably get a better result almost every time, I would assume. No more than 2 minutes in the microwave? Okay. I left this as a comment on a different sub, but to make a long story short, after someone stupidly put popcorn in the school microwave for 20 minutes and it caught on fire, there was a new rule that said there was no popcorn allowed in the microwave and student and faculty were not allowed to put more than 2 minutes on the new microwave. This rule was enforced to the point where putting 2 minutes and 30 seconds would get you a write-up. There was a power-tripping admissions lady who would hover around the microwave just to make sure no one put a second over 2 minutes. I had a frozen TV dinner and needed like 6 to 7 minutes to heat up my food. So I put my food in the microwave and gave it 2 minutes. The microwave finishes and I give it 2 more minutes. The admissions lady looks at me confused and asks what the heck am I doing? I simply said my food wasn't ready and went to give it yet another 2 minutes. I think the little smirk on my face was enough for her to realize that I found a little loophole. She stormed away as technically I'm not doing anything wrong. Just as I put 1 more minute and took my food out. Frozen meatloaf and mashed potatoes has never tasted so good. I realize this may not be the most entertaining or climactic story, but knowing that I annoyed some power-tripping lady felt good. It only takes one person. One person ruins those kinds of things for everybody. Now you have to sit there and baby it every 2 minutes, repeating the process until it's finally done. I don't even understand why this lady would be upset because he has a frozen meal that needs 6 to 7 minutes. Like, that should be expected in a microwave. Wouldn't people be doing that regularly, I would assume? Either way, good on OP. Deadline to clean a green pool. Storm blew dirt and debris in our pool. Pool turned green. Pump died while trying to clean pool. Pool turned greener. Right at the beginning of the summer, our pool was green and full of algae. I couldn't get anybody to fix it since summer is the busiest time of year for a pool guy in Phoenix, and nobody was going to make time to do a big project for somebody that's not a regular customer. So I had to wait till the summer season ended. That meant around September-ish. At the end of August, a city inspector knocked on the door and told me he had a complaint about a green pool. I knew immediately who reported me without saying something to me first. Had he said something to me, I would have apologetically explained why I can't get it fixed until September, and if there was a mosquito issue, I would have dosed the green pool with something to take care of that. But he didn't say anything to me about it first. I asked the inspector how long I had to fix it. He said, 3 days unless you let me put in a mosquito larva killing agent. 4 months if you let me dose it. I let him dose the pool. So instead of getting the pool taken care of in September like I had planned, I took full advantage of the 4-month deadline and let my neighbor enjoy the green pool until the end of December. Nobody really likes a silent code enforcement caller, so I understand OP's plight in this moment with the green pool. Having some official show up out of the blue saying, hey, we got a call on this or that and we need to check this, or you need to do this in this amount of time. Nobody likes that. Give somebody a heads up, give them a chance to actually fix it, rather than getting them in some official trouble. Then you're only going to get on that person's bad side and hey, maybe they want to do something to get back at you a little bit, which OP obviously did by making them wait until December. Clean the toilet on your floor. This happened over the last few years. My parents owned some property, including a 3-story house in a fancy part of a small town. Bottom floor is a fancy clothes store. Middle floor used to be an office of the clothes store. Top floor and basement are storage for out-of-season clothes that might get sold again another year, and other such items. Due to several problems, but mainly the fact that you can buy cheap clothes on the internet now, the clothes store first downsized and then closed down completely. To get some cash, my parents sold the middle floor to some therapist who put his office in that floor. Since the store closed, we also sold our private home and bought a cheap home 3 hours away in some quaint little village with surprisingly fast internet. Life was good. For the most part, the new owners of a third of the house were nice and quiet. Some remodeling here that we quickly approved, some gutter cleaning there that we paid 2/3 of, generally quiet and nice. Except soon they started to complain that we did not clean our toilet. Now, this is an old European house, 150 years old at the very least, with tall ceilings and small toilets in the staircase. The tiny toilet at the ground floor directly next to the rear entrance still exists. The other two on the middle and top floors were removed decades ago and turned into storage closets. The aforementioned remodeling they did included a proper bathroom on their floor, so they clearly had a place to do their business. So why are they complaining about our dirty toilet? We live 3 hours away, we're not there to use it. So clearly it's them and or their patients using that bathroom, and yet they want us to clean it. So we say, we left it clean when we moved out, this is your problem now. But no, it is on our floor, so it's our responsibility. This goes back and forth for about 4 months until we give in. My dad goes to work as normal, I get my mom, and we drive 3 hours to clean a freaking toilet. We get there, my mom gets the cleaning supplies out and scrubs it nice and clean. Looked as brand new as a 40-year-old toilet bowl could possibly look. We took a picture and everything. And then we locked the door to the bathroom and left. Toilet is now perfectly clean because they can no longer use our bathroom. They never complained again. Small bonus story. A few months ago, one of their friends who they claim is a water treatment expert has done tests on the tap water and found lead in it. Clearly the old house is full of lead pipes and they will all need to be replaced. We say no, those pipes were replaced 20 years ago, there's no lead in them anymore. Your readings must be wrong. Similar back and forth for a few months until my parents go, alright, we'll do it. We pay 2/3 and you pay 1/3. And they immediately back down. Oh no, it's not that important, we will just drink bottled water. Like we told them to do for months. Fast forward another month and it just so happens that there's a blockage in the water line. Probably their fault. And an actual expert goes to clear it off and he just so happens to tear up the walls to look at the pipes. How odd. He found no lead pipes, and now they have to close the walls back up on their own budget because they chose to break stuff instead of getting an actual professional to do a water quality test. What a stressful nightmare. I would be so on edge with these people, honestly. I don't know how OP and his family can handle it. Dealing with that for months? No, dude, I wouldn't be able to. Bless OP and his parents for being able to stick up with that. I stopped refilling my cup. So I work at a pizza place that partnered with a brewery to form one restaurant. You go to the bar in the front, order your beer and pizza, and then the ticket prints out in our kitchen, which is in the back. Also important to know is that I'm a big guy, 6'3" easily, almost 300 pounds. So the bar and the pizza place have separate chains of command, but we do share tip jars and a drink supply. So when you get dehydrated from playing next to the 600-degree oven, you walk across the tap room and fill up your cup with ice and a soda or water. Now, I like to be a nice guy and grab a tray, getting everyone else a drink when I go up, but I am also very thirsty sometimes, so I will often need 2 to 3 cups of water. The solution, of course, is to drink as I fill someone else's cup, then refill mine, basically minimizing the time I spend behind the bar and not making pizzas. Of course, the bar boss doesn't like that. He thinks I obstruct the way for way too long when I do change drinks. So he complained to the kitchen supervisor who, reluctantly, told me I could no longer stand behind the bar and rehydrate when the bar was busy. This, of course, only applied to me. I told my supervisor the natural plan. If I couldn't drink behind the bar, I would have to make multiple trips. So, a week or two later, the situation came up. I was thirsty, the restaurant was busy, and the complaining supervisor was behind the bar. I made about 3 trips, getting only water. Soda would cost the restaurant money and pack unnecessary calories. Each time I would start drinking and walking as soon as the tap went off, then turn around when I finished my cup. This caused far more behind the bar disruption than filling a glass a few times. After all, the tap was far away from the entrance. The kitchen supervisor was perfectly happy with this. I did it a few more times that night. I made my point. I haven't done either since, instead filling up a cup with ice and drinking the off-tasting kitchen sink water. Fallout is important. Bar supervisor complained to kitchen big boss, who announced a plan to buy a water cooler for the kitchen. The kitchen supervisor joked that he reserved the right to put me in charge of filling it. I'm not really sure what the best solution here is besides obviously the end where they're getting a water cooler for the kitchen, because your employees are working in a very hot kitchen and need a drink once in a while, and as OP said, he's a pretty big dude, so he's gonna need a lot of water. I'm proud of OP for sticking up for himself and showing off that what he was doing wasn't ridiculous. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and let us know what you thought about these stories in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.